Yeah. Ah, there's Neil.
Hi.
What's it doing?
Ah, it's a bomb. Enjoy.
Thanks for that, Neil.
I just met him. He's lovely. Now I just met his bum.
And that's lovely too, right?
Yes, it is. It's true. How often do I get to see a proper Birmingham butt?
I don't know. You tell me.
Never, actually. That's the first time.
Cool. Well, are you happy that it was Neil's bum?
I am. Because this band was awesome. That was really nice to see a local band that had such a unique and distinct voice as songwriters.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know, and there's nothing to blame except the dissolution and degradation of all culture, including subculture, but you end up finding bands that open shows that maybe they just sound like a conglomeration of their influences in a way that's real direct, and you don't feel their particular personality or the voice of their community or their town or those things that make it. I mean, because we all play like genre. We all have this thing that we love to do, and it sounds like this, and it has these moments and these parts, and there's, you know, it's orchestrated in a time, like we didn't invent this punk rock that we play, but it is the right platform for us to project the sense of honesty, vulnerability, horror, and positivity in, you know, in the face of the world. I think that's, anyway, when you see a local band that has also that sense of like you can feel their soul through the music.
Yeah.
And you don't know them, and you don't know their songs. You're not even really hearing it properly because you have earplugs in and you're on the side of the stage, but you just feel it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and that's the same feeling that I got from your band. So
Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks.
that's why I'm sitting here. No, oh, you're welcome, Thomas. Well, the main reason that I'm doing this interview, because I apologize. I mean, I had heard your name before, but I didn't know your music, so
That's okay. There's a lot of bands out there.
Yeah, I know, but normally I tend to like do a bit of research before this. But the thing that struck me was that you said on stage that you wanted transparency in the world. Can you explain a little bit more on what level you mean that?
I mean, on every level, I imagine. I mean, obviously it would need to start. I think specifically in that moment, I was thinking about our electoral process and the British system, and how both of them just feel like these games, like this theater that is set up to convince / confuse / exhaust all the people that they've given away their power, all of us. Every time that we vote, we're hoping that like we participate in this illusion that that's all that we get, that we can say, okay, now hopefully leaders will allow for our lives to make sense and you know, our survival will protect us from whatever enemies we're told exist, and all the while wealth further extracts and makes exclusive power, and no matter what ideology is being presented to us in these political parties, the performance is just to protect the wealthy and to make sure that products and resources can be produced and extracted, further and further jeopardizing our real ability to survive on the planet. And beyond the physical, material, and economic aspects of it, it's the spiritual ones that are the most messed up, you know. And as a lot of folks involved in punk rock culture, you know, there's a huge questioning of organized religion, and we were talking about it on this tour, and you know, it's another corporation. It's another thing that develops a psychological atmosphere to take away what is your birthright. Like these metaphysical feelings, this relationship to what is invisible, spirituality. These folks, or men, developing organized religions, this way they get to capitalize on our fears, put us in these prisons, and feed us trays, you know, like of food through the bars, and that's scripture, and that's dogma, and that's guilt, and that's original sin, and that's all of these kind of projected moralities, and that's another place where we're in prison. I guess finding ways that we can liberate ourselves from these half-truths, this lack of light in our consciousness is really important. And I guess that would be the other level of transparency, beyond what is political. And I think they're all interrelated. And I mean, of course, it's not there's not someone in a back room somewhere pushing buttons to make this happen in the material world. But it is this position that we're trapped between walls right now. And we have a song on our new record where the end of the song talks about freeing ourselves from this trap between walls. So when we talk about like social revolution, we talk about, you know, things as specific as racial profiling and a racist police apparatus in working class communities, further dividing and using violence and intimidation for people to still have a second-class citizen relationship in their own country, the one that was built on their backs.
Yeah.
You know, and that happens here with working class communities and in our country as well, in the States and in Europe as well. So I guess like an aspect of that transparency would be to look in the eye the true violence that is occurring, you know, with capitalism, with globalization, with state control, with this hyper-mediated spectacle of existence that politicians and clergy know full well is how they get to put us in these places and move us around using media that is controlled by billionaires who also want the status quo to not only remain, but they also want to turn the screws and push out any of the sense of reason and evolution and love from the consciousness of our civilization.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think I want to say that I love you or something.
You're so sweet.
You're welcome. No, but I mean, you've summarized basically my last couple of years, the stuff that I've been going through in my head and that I've been trying to find answers to and partly found in music. And I guess the passion and the honesty that is still in a lot of music. But now you're putting in words stuff that I haven't been able to say. But one of the things that I think is putting people down is fear. And yeah, what do you think about that? For me, it's fear. It's like people are taught to be in a secure place. From when we're little, we are taught you have to have security. That's like objective number one. But it's not. I mean,
right. Like
insecurity is beautiful.
We're taught to fear the open sky and a day without limits or structure. Those are the first things that we are taught to fear because we're given, and it's, you know, through loving parents and through supposedly, you know, loving first world school systems, and the idea of how to organize a society is the very thing that circumcises our consciousness and paralyzes our ability to see out. And that's why we get these, that's why we always have these compressed moments of holiday or vacation where we go and try to recreate recreation, and we look out and everyone's kind of still on their Blackberries and trying to figure out what am I doing with my time and all of this, and it's like this whole world is ours, you know, and we know how to make food and we know how to take care of ourselves and we know how to use the planet in a way that is filled with mutual aid and respect and love. But I think through this fear we're pushed away from that, and I think this fear is also, I'll go back to the Abrahamic religions too, like to elevate our species, to say that Homo sapiens sapiens is the only carrier of divine light and that we are the authors of this landscape. It has trapped us in this sense of adolescent brutality. Like we get to exploit and destroy the animal kingdom, and we get to manipulate the harvest, and we get to poison the earth with whatever kinds of odd chemistries that we think we need. Like this is another box that we're put in that keeps us degraded and retarded. In our pathways to evolution, we're stuck in this dead end. You know, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people, when they have a moment to breathe and to be out in the sunshine and to look at the sky, like there's that sense of, we often interpret this fear and we move it into something like a stress about how I'm not using my time wisely. I'm not being productive. I'm not being pragmatic. And all the while, it's kind of like you're allowing this virus to collapse you, to make you into something so small. And so that's what I think the end position that we get with all of this fear from birth that you mentioned. That's where we go at the end of it. And that's what, just to go back to our roots, punk rockers in Washington, D.C., this band Minor Threat, they have a song that references this idea called the adult crash. When we become adults, you know, we absorb all of these ideas of like the way we're supposed to act, what we're supposed to do, how we, you know, harness our skills and how we compete and what kind of world we contribute to. It's what the shape of our consciousness after we're beaten down. After all of the adolescent heat of being a teenager and feeling immortal and the sense of wonder and infinity that is our birthright as children. When both of those things get worn away from us, you become an adult and you're just a shell. You're a zombie.
Yeah.
And then, we use legal drugs like alcohol and tobacco and rituals like the weekend to further solidify ourselves in a corpse-like state where we just do these programmed relationships, our personalities get homogenized, and we just become put in these boxes. And that's all so we don't have to think about the people we might have been.
Yeah.
And so punk rock in some way has this transcendent spiritual code that allows you to escape that box. So if you read it the right way, some people just like to dance and scream along and pour beer on their friends and go home, and that's fine too. It is entertainment, but to us it's a way we can escape and synthesize ideas and try to build something that feels real in this hyper-mediated world of a spectacle of corporate entertainment. And of course, we're doing this interview in a giant corporate complex of clubs right now. And I mean, that's another thing, is like to be entertained by the compromises you make to survive and not to be too shrill, but never to give up. That's sort of like the stepping into like how innocent and irrational and childlike all of this is, because we all need that in our lives. We need something that makes us feel weightless.
I completely understand. Well, I'll talk a bit about what got me here. I actually quit my job just a month ago.
Yeah. Hell
yeah. Because I've been raised in a secure way, but what happened to me is that I got more spiritual. I was looking also to religions and just looking at what I am, and I found myself, but I went a little bit too far and I couldn't go back to this world, so I got completely depressed. And the only way that I could get out of it was to actually abandon my job. It was that or another way. But now I'm learning to cope with it, and it's like you say, what I heard from what you said is that you also need to be able to live in this corporate reality and find a little bit your place and make the changes, but still keep your childlike spirit and wonder and
that
energy.
Would be, I mean, just to be as simplistic and tie it back to gross generalizations of subculture, that would be why punk had to happen, because rock and roll was becoming kind of too safe. It was kind of becoming a self-parody, and certainly by the 70s. And hippies, with all of the revolutionary spirit and attendant metaphysics and social transgressions and innocent behavior, they were too far outside on purpose and never really coming back in. So with the grit and the concrete and steel and working class masses trying to figure out how to communicate, how to make the quiet hours, fill them with something, I think punk rock has an aggressive and hostile aesthetic because we have to be here inside the corporate reality. Like at the same time, trying to project this innocence and to uncover these truths and to give courage when we can to ourselves and to everyone around us. That's why the music is the way it is, and that's why we are kind of in two worlds, my wife's kind of a hippie, so like I understand that there's like, and I know other people that are involved in like hardcore music and punk music who also have best friends, and they have like their feet in this other like world, which also has its own wonderful revolutionary and intellectual component as well. And then there's another aspect of hardcore where people are looking for metaphysics, and they're so happy they can find this freedom and this innocence that they go so far the other way, where they're just maybe like looking into Eastern religion and meditation and these things, and they, not personally for me, but I know a lot of folks that get a great deal of comfort and stimulation out of these things. And it's interesting because they're kind of, especially children of the Western world, like bucking a Christian or Islamic or Jewish tradition and going far back 6,000 years to Hindu and Buddha and like these other ideas. Like I think that's just another act of revolution on this path. You can always stop for a while and hang out, but the path is always there shining, like waiting for you to get back on when you're ready.
What do
So
you
you
think?
seem ready.
I am more than ready. No, but I've been looking in those things too. Not only the religion, Eastern-wise, but also medicine, also metaphysical medicine, other ways of healing people. Because that's another thing in this society that seems very wrong, is the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, you can kill me now. But no, it's true. I mean, people are dying out there, and there's other ways that people can be cured, but they just have to look, and we're just kept blind, and it's just beyond beyond the imaginary. This is stuff that's going out. That's going on.
It became another mechanism of control, like this third way. Like now, we have people that are kind of faltering from being crippled and illiterate by theology. There are folks in the mainstream world questioning the dominant dogma of organized religions. Mm-hmm. And then there are folks that are also trying to organize against this hyperlinear, brutal, competitive kind of economics we have. So what's the final field that people have a resolute faith in? Science and the body. So we can develop this way to keep people addicted to pills and drugs, and to think that's the way we got to live in this world, that we made this way so we could become contaminated by our own products, and so we could teach ourselves that our minds weren't healthy and we need to take these pills every day so we could continue to survive. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. It's like the third weapon that is used against us.
Yeah, it is. And that's what my friends, with all their hearts, that's what they advised me to do to get out of the depression. Instead of looking who I am and trying to find where it comes from, no, just block everything, become a robot, and become part of normal society. It's too bad that so many people give up. They don't even try to discover who they really are. I mean, we're not just these human things. Yeah, okay, we're that now, but there's so much more. And they just need to start to discover that, I think.
I think people also rely on different mechanisms to keep them grounded too, And of course there is proper mental illness, and people just have circuitry that is, wrong neurologically, and there's, and it's like the same thing as having like weak lungs like I do, and you need asthma medicine sometimes. But then you also become vegan and give up dairy, and you realize, man, you don't need those medicines anymore.
Yes.
Like, so that's like a personal story about this, but like, I think also for people to have the static in their heads calm down, to get a quiet moment. Sometimes the world has done too much damage, and you need to have a way to build yourself and to find a peaceful place inside. Yeah. So I don't fault people that still use traditional medicines when they need to, but just to have an awareness that this isn't the end of your journey either, that you can move forward. And it's always like people giving up animal products and recognizing that you don't need to be on the path of karmic cruelty, and exposing people to ideas like vegetarianism and animal rights. It's important not to just talk about the moral imperative, because obviously everyone has, is going to backpedal and feel guilt and feel overwhelmed and then not really want to hear about it anymore. And there's other reasons you can appeal to more of just the good health and good living that is on an individual scale, like something that starts off a little more self-interested perhaps.
Yeah.
And then people realize that, oh man, I feel good, I've been eating healthy, and as a collateral, I haven't been contributing to the mass slaughter of billions of animals by our industrial factory farm system.
Yeah.
Cool. So I feel like there's all these different approaches that need to be used, and some of them are appealing to someone's sense of their personal destiny. Like I don't think that the language of collectivism always works out of the gate on people. I don't think it even should. I think that we're made to be individuals spinning away information and absorbing new information and becoming this unique, the footprint of the soul of each of 6 billion of us. It's never going to be the same again. And I think that individuality it's a part of the reason why we're so easily manipulated by Darwinism. I don't mean evolutionary Darwinism. I just mean social Darwinism, I guess. Like we have to compete, we have to find markets, we have to get in there, we have to extract resources and pollute the earth. Yeah. And those are the horrible exponents of the way we've been managed by others to look at our condition. Yeah. But there's something to be celebrated about our uniqueness, I think. Yeah. And once you can claim that, it's on your route to finding this positivity, even above the reactive gamesmanship of everyday emotion. Yeah. You were speaking to me about that earlier, like when you can quietly look at all these reactions and all these things and find this kind of hidden song that goes through everything.
Yeah. No, yeah, sometimes you have to, sometimes, not a step back, but it's a step up in a way, and just look at everything down there. You're much more articulate than I am. It's more difficult for me to put in words what I want to say, but I think
no,
you get it.
You're, this is your conversation. I'm just along for the ride.
No,
Thank you so
it's
much.
the other way around.
No. I'm sorry, I don't mean it like that.
No.
This is like one of the most unique and deeply layered interviews I've ever done with my punk rock band. You know, and it's a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I think that's what it's about. I mean, that's the soul of music. That's what I like so much about music, is these layers, the honesty, mostly the honesty. It's so much easier to put down masks through music than it is talking person to person, in a way.
I know.
Yeah.
That's part of the thing about there's this level of like it's a performance, and there's people, you don't know everyone in the room. Maybe you don't know anyone in the room except for your friend Josh, who's selling your t-shirts in the back, you know, and maybe Adam, who's doing the sound, trying to make it work. But you do, because they're with you. Like you owe them something more than just a theater. You know, they can go anywhere else for that. Like, this is our time to spend time with you.
Yeah.
Like, for real, like as human beings. And I know that could be interpreted as something cheesy or pompous, but it's not. It's never that. It's always just this, like, you have this hopefulness, and we have this energetic and brief platform.
Yeah.
So you're not tearing someone's day apart by making them focus on hopefully something that's not dry. There's emotion to it, there's sonic elements to it, and hopefully a tiny bit of poetry that people can hold on to.
Yeah.
But it's also like whatever is reflected back changes that moment. Like those songs will never be played the same, and they'll mean something slightly different in that moment than they ever have or ever will again.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always known, that even if our songs are like fast, 2.5 minutes, angry, crunchy, direct, spilling out around the edges of the rhythm, you know, it's always something that's tied to the feel of it more than the science of music. It's way more primordial in that sense, but hopefully elevates the spirit in some way.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. We try for that.
Well, it really shows. No, definitely. Well, I think I'm gonna have to stop the interview, unfortunately. But I hope we can do this again.
I hope so too, Brigitte. Every time we come to Europe or the UK or wherever you happen to be, we should set up and do this.
Definitely.
And we'll check in on each other and see how it's going.
Yeah, for sure. And changing the world a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Thank you. And the other way around. Don't thank me. I'm just.
But this is your show. This is your awesome thing. This is your contribution to the world.
Yeah.
And it's I don't take it lightly. I'm honored. Thank you.
Well, me too. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.